eyebrow threading and eyelash treatments. We are going to be discussing about that in our next bulletin, which is what I'm going to get to in a moment. Are we going to play the video about coronavirus, how to fly during a global pandemic? I'm sure everyone knows what to do by now, but I was watching a video from Stansted Airport the other day. Okay, well, let's just watch this video and see.
Key things to know when flying during a global pandemic. Do not fly if you have coronavirus symptoms or have had any in the last week. If you should be self-isolating because someone you live with has or has had symptoms recently, or if you've been in close contact with someone you know has had coronavirus. If that doesn't apply to you, then head to the airport. Don't go into the terminal unless you're a passenger or dropping off someone vulnerable. The fewer people around, the less the virus can spread. Social distancing rules still apply whether you're on the ground or at 40,000 feet, so keep your distance from others. Checking in online avoids unnecessary face-to-face contact. Putting bags in the hold and avoiding hand luggage can speed up boarding and disembarking, and there's less chance of the virus spreading. Don't walk around the airport if you don't need to. Clean your hands thoroughly after touching anything someone else may have touched, and wear a face covering. Granted, some people will simply not want to wear one. But worth checking with your airline about face coverings. Some may not let you fly without one. Oh, and if the police or border control or security ask you to remove your mask so they can ID you, then do as they say.
Cabin crew, please be seated.
In the air, keep wearing your face covering. Remain seated as much as possible. Keep your distance and tell the cabin crew if you feel ill. When you're coming into the UK, most of us will need to fill in a form giving details about where we've been, unless you've come from somewhere else in the UK, the Channel Islands, the Isle of Man or Ireland. If you don't, you may not be let in, and you could be fined up to £1,000. Leave the airport as quickly as possible, and then, depending where you've flown in from, you may need to put yourself in quarantine. Stay at home or in your hotel room for 2 weeks. Get everything delivered to you. No visitors. If you leave, you could be spreading coronavirus, and you could be fined as much as £1,000, which is a holiday expense no one wants.
All said and done. I didn't really have to say very much in that, because that lovely lady who was talking on there said the whole thing, so I didn't even have to say anything. So well said and done. The Shadow Home Secretary Nick Thomas Simmons said that while the Labour Party supports evidence-based measures at the border, it was virtual that Number 10 had a joined-up strategy and urgently puts in place a specific deal to support the heavily impacted travel sector. Now, let's go ahead now then, because, let's go ahead. I think I got to this bit, because the government has announced, we said that, and, we spoke all about this. I think we've spoken about this, haven't we? Yeah, we have. So, of course we have. Yeah, so, if you are travelling today and you are coming back from an airport and you are listening to the show today, please do quarantine for 2 weeks, okay? Because you will need to do that. Right, okay, let's talk about now coronavirus lockdown to ease further tomorrow. Yes, from tomorrow. Things are going to get much better. Now, more beauty treatments. Everything in our town's just about open back up, really, but a lot of places in our town have been open all the way through anyway. Only food places. So the more beauty treatments, small wedding receptions and live indoor performances will be able to resume in England from tomorrow, as lockdown rules are going to be eased. Now, as I said just now, bowling alleys, casinos and soft play area centres will all be able to reopen. Boris Johnson did announce it. It also comes as the government introduces bigger fines for failing to wear a face mask in places where it is compulsory. Now, the quarantine measures have been imposed on more countries, including, as I said, France and Netherlands in my last bulletin. Now, the easing of lockdown rules is now due to come into force tomorrow after being postponed from the 1st of August. I think there's going to be I think later on today, about 12:15, there's going to be a lunchtime bulletin about it all. I'm sure there is. But last week, figures from the Office of National Statistics showed that there may be levelling it off. Now, under the last changes, indoor theatre, music performance venues are able to open with socially distanced audiences. Weddings and receptions from the form of a sit-down meal for up to 30 guests will be permitted. A piloting of a small number of sporting events to test the safe return of spectators will resume, commencing from the final of the World Snooker Championship and the Sheffield's Crumble Theatre over the weekend. Casinos, bowling alleys, skating rinks and soft play areas, as I said, will all be allowed to reopen, and close contact beauty services such as facials, eyebrow threading, eyelash treatments, as I said, makeup, polish and microblading will also resume as well. Pilots will take place at conference venues ahead of expected resumption of the business's events from the 1st of October at the earliest. The new guidance will not apply in areas where local lockdown measures are in place. The government has said that lockdown restrictions were last week introduced in Preston to keep in place in 18 other areas to control outbreaks. Devolved administrations in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have the power to set their own linings for an easing of restrictions. The Prime Minister said that plans do open up more of the economy this weekend and will allow more people to return to work and the public to get back to more of things that they have missed and things to get back to some sort of normal reality sort of thing is what we need. Boris Johnson has related a warning that the government will not hesitate to put on the brakes it will also required or to continue to implement local measures to help control the spread of the virus. New guidance will also mean that staff offering close contact services, including hairdressers, will now have to wear a face mask as well as a clear visor. The government said the move, which follows new evidence from the Scientific Advisor Group for Emergencies, which is SAGE, is aimed to protecting customers and staff from repulsory droplets caused by sneezing, coughing and speaking. It's all to do with that sort of thing. Yeah, of course. It also applies to businesses that operate remotely, such as massaging, therapists working in people's homes, and those learning in vocational training environments. Now, nightclubs and discos are among the venues that are going to remain closed in law. Now, under current guidance, people who refuse to wear face coverings, as I said, could have up a £1,000 fine and £50 if not paid within 14 days. The new enforcement measures will see that penalty repeatedly doubled for the subsequent offences up to a maximum of £3,200. Now, most people in this country are following the rules and are doing their bit to control the virus, but the most remain focused and we cannot be compliment, he said. Boris Johnson said that, by the way. In England, face coverings are mandatory in many indoor settings, including public transport, shops, museums, and some expectation for children or in the medical grounds. Transport for London and British Transport Police have already made 91,501 investigations based on present face coverings guidance. The government said that preventing 4,397 from boarding, asking 3,030 to leave the network, and issuing 341 penalty notices. Now, there will also be a clampdown on legally gatherings of more than 30 people, which could see those responsible hit with spot fines of up to £10,000. Now, according to the government force across England and Wales, who have already stepped up patrols to prevent legal gatherings in areas of concerns such as Leicester and Greater Manchester, where it said that developments did have sometimes been larger from New Year's Eve. Last weekend, the West Midlands Police had they shut down 125 parties and raves and closed a pub, taking action to stop legal gatherings and antisocial behaviour across the region. Further details on the new enforcement measures are to be set out in the coming week, and the Home Secretary Priti Patel has said she would not allow progress against the virus to be unshored by a small minority of infamous individuals. Now, these measures are to set a clear message: if you don't cooperate with the police, and if you put the health at risk, action will follow. Okay, we'll leave that story there. So that is the story about the coronavirus, and they're going to be making more. They're going to be putting more things out there to make it much easier. So they're basically going to ease the lockdown to make it much better. Right, okay, time for some music. We've got the Whisperers and Cyndi Lauper now.
Just is God.